Thank you. Hi Sue. Good evening. Hi Margaret. Hi Jan. Hope we're all okay this evening. Hello, hello. Hi David. Hi Jan. Hi Jenny. You alright, Woofy? Oh. So I've done a tiny bit of prep. That's very exciting. Hiya Ginny. You alright, lovely? Just wait a few more moments. Let a few more people come on board. Well, hello Glenys Blatherwick. How are you, my lady? I hope you're alright. Hi Caroline. Good evening. Hi Kim. Hi Gillian. Hello, hello, hello. Yay, double figures. That's always a good sign on a Monday evening when we get to double figures. Hi Bev. Good evening, good evening. Hi Shelley. Hello. Hi Helen. Hello, hello. So I've got a vague idea of what I'm doing. I've already cast some resin, had already done from the weekend. So I thought I'd use some of that. Hi Connie. Hello lovely, alright? So I've only got a bit of painting today. I'm going to make a little journal using some of the Stamperia goodies. And using some nice coffee stained papers as well. I was going to use a different template from my Journal It templates, but I can't find them. England are playing later. That should boost me figures, thank you. I didn't know they were playing at all. I don't follow football whatsoever. Not anymore anyway. Steve, are you watching football?
No.
Oh, is England playing tonight? Maybe, possibly.
I don't know what time it's on.
Oh, okay. Sue was being very derogatory about them. That's quite funny. Okay, let's get going.
I've got my ears in now.
Oh, right, okay. Steve's got his ears in now, so I'm going to have to throw things at him to catch his attention. And exactly, Helen. Rugby player any day. Right, so hopefully you'll be able to see the screen okay. I'm fairly central on. I'm doing quite well today. So I've already cast some resin. So some of these are from the best sellers from Stamperia, and then I've also got the new Hidden Grove, which that little Mr. Frog is from. He's delightful. I think that one is from the best sellers mould, quite possibly. I'll just have a look. Oh, Kim, I know it's so shocking. I find one and then I lose some more. That's just my that's just the way in life, isn't it? Hi Stephanie, you all right? I know. I'm usually as bad as that sometimes for moulds, Helen. So let me just get the two. All right, Wolfie, get down, mate. Get down. Come on, get down. Oh, don't go that way. Blummy neck. Right near where my water jar was. Hi Vicky, you all right, lovely? Come on, mate. Come on, shift. Apologies for the cat. Blimey, that was lucky. Hiya, Angela. Hello, hello. Hiya, Jill. Oh, goodness me, that was a bit exciting. We nearly had... Hi, Sharon. We nearly had catastrophe. Hi, Bridget. Good evening, good evening. Yes, so that one is the little door from that one. You'll have to get down. Get down right now. Get down. Little rat. And then we've got that one from there. It will fit in there. Have I got it upside down? No, it will fit in. And then there's a little butterfly, which I think might be from that one, or it might be from the new one. Might not even be from this one. It might be from a Prima one, actually. Oh, no, it's from that one. There we go. So I've used the Bestsellers one, which is the bunnies, the rabbits one. Come on, Waffle. Oh, good luck with that. Good luck with that, Stephanie. And get your thing opened as well, Helen. Get it open. Oh, right. Yes, so that's from there. And then I've also got the little froggy. And he is from one of these moulds. That one, which again is a Stamperia one from the Hidden Grove. So a bit of a mix and match that I've used, but I've already sort of cast quite a few pieces of resin because I did do a journal at the weekend as part of my workshop, and I did use a whole pad apart from 2 sheets of the Hidden Grove 22 sheet maxi pad, which I know for me is an awful lot of papers, but there's an awful lot of pages. So that workshop is still available if anyone wants to catch up. I'll just show you very quickly while I'm on what we actually did. So, oh, let's shift my head. I did a little reel. Hi, Jackie. All right, lovely. I did a reel with it, but I've used some of the resin that I'd already done for that, with the little gnomes, which are absolutely beautiful. And then it's a little flip-flap book. So I've made a nice little hidden pocket, which I really love. Ta-da! Made a little notebook to go in it. And then the rest are all like little flip-flap pages with hidden pockets at the top and at the side that flip out, and flip out. So it is a rather big chunker. Hi Sarah John, you're right, lovely. With lots of pockets and tabs and flicks and flacks and all sorts of little things. Yeah, so that was from the workshop I did on Saturday, which is available to watch on Catch Up if anyone wants to still partake in it. I'll pop the link in comments once I've done my project. And there we go. So my next workshop for a journal will be, I think, a week on Sunday, which is going to be a fantasy type journal. And I'm also doing a mixed media workshop a week on Tuesday, so not tomorrow night but next Tuesday evening, which is a mixed media looking at composition, things like that. So there we go. Yeah, I need to put the measurements in the group, Sue, actually, so I'll do that. But there we are. So that, oh Liz, it's just, I've been doing it for donkey's years. It's just practice, having a play. There's no set rules. It's just a matter of going for it, to be honest. That's all. We all have our little things that we do, and I just enjoy doing a little bit of this. Oh, you're aware you can watch on the motorway? Of course you can. I've looked at it quickly, but looking at composition, it's looking at how you set out your pages, how you decide where to put things. So there is a bit of there is a little bit of method in the madness of where you position things when you're doing composition. So if it be the front of a cover or the way that you design cards. So it's looking at that. It's looking at how you arrange things and little bits like that. So yeah, it's quite a nice one, and it flows on to the next one as well, which is about making marks. The first one that I did was about colour theory, which is a really nice practical one, but they're all quite practical, and it just gives you a bit more confidence in mixed media if you're still a little bit unsure about what to do and mixing colours and what goes together. So it's just a very nice gentle little lead into mixed media. Okay, so let's get cracking. So I've got these 4 pieces that I will paint, and then I've also got from my Journal It template, set 6 I think I'm using. Let's just double check. I did melt some by accident by putting my burner over the underneath them because they were hanging down, so some are a little bit melty, but that's fine. Set 6, and this is it's like a little lap book. It's like a mini lap book, and it's been designed to fit in a little suitcase that goes with that set as well. But I just thought I'd do it as a journal, not a lap book. So this is the cover, and the idea is that you draw around this twice to create your cover. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to use some coffee stain papers that my mum's done for me in the last few days. So let's just grab them. So I've got some really beautifully crunchy coffee stain papers that I'm going to be using for the journal as well. I will put a link, Larry, to all the different workshops that I've got that are already in existence and the ones that are coming up as well, because I've got another 2 coming up. Hi, Catherine. I know she's been very good, my mum, so she's got the washing line out and everything, and it's been perfect weather to actually dry them. So I'm going to make the structure of my book first, and then I'm going to paint these, let them dry, and then get everything put together. So I'm hoping it's not going to take very, very long, because my tea is currently sat in the microwave waiting for me to eat it, because I was a little bit late back from Fat Club weigh-in, because we stay to class. But anyway, so we're here. I have found some cardboard. This was attached to the back of some packaging for some double-sided foam pads. So this was just the packaging, and I didn't want to use mount board or grey board, and I didn't want to use just card because I don't think it's going to be thick enough. So I've chosen this, and I'm going to draw around this twice. Weighing was very good, Helen, because I thought I'd not done very well, because as some of you might know, I went to a buffet yesterday in Manchester for my great niece's birthday. It was a big family buffet. We all got together. It was at Cosmos World Food Buffet on Deansgate. So we went there, and I was really, really trying to be very, very good. I mean, I have been good all week, but I did have 2 croissants for pudding. There was all sorts on offer, like for pudding anyway, cakes and ice cream and stuff. But I did have 2 croissants, and do you know what? I really enjoyed them. But other things that I had were things like just nicely roast turkey, and some of the Chinese didn't have sauces on them, so I had like spare ribs and stuff. So nothing like the nice prawn toast that was on offer, and no samosas or lovely things like that. So I thought I might have just maybe put on £0.5 pound or something. I actually lost 3 stone, I wish, £3. So well done me. Yeah, so I'm very pleased with that, because it could have been a lot worse. But it's, you know, got to just keep on plodding every day. Okay, so I've drawn around it twice, and then I'm just going to use my craft knife. Please have an adult supervisor when you're using a craft knife. Helen is Gillian's supervisor and Ginny's supervisor, but only when it comes to magnets, isn't that right, you two? Yeah, so yeah, I'm really pleased with that. And then I'm just gonna, yes, I'm very, very pleased. So let's just score down here. If you want to use a ruler or a paper trimmer or your scissors, whatever you want to do. And then what I'm going to do is just gently, Glynis, gently score down each of these score lines, but I'm not going to cut all the way through, because I just want them to fold. So I don't want to cut them into separate pieces. I want them to be folded. Yeah, hi Marjorie. Saw you just pop in there, lovely. So I'm going to use my ruler for this, so I've got a little bit more control. And then what I'm going to do is just gently score just there, so that it doesn't go all the way through, but it just means there's some give to that cardboard. And that's what I quite like about using thicker cardboard like this, because it is layered up with those little rolls that remind me, while I'm not eating chocolate, reminds me of a Whisper bar, you know, those little ruffles inside. And then do the same on this side. So the idea of doing this is that it's got a double thickness for the spine, so it gives it a little bit of strength. Because obviously the idea of a lap book is that it like folds together like that. So then if I just bend these up, if I've done that one, it just makes it easier to actually fold. There we go. So it's a bit like a gatefold, but it actually folds together in on itself. So let's just fold these up. So then the idea is that that spine sits on the top of that spine, so it makes it a nice thick spine. If you didn't want to do it and have a double spine, you could do that. But I'm just going to stick mine on top of each other like that, with just a little bit of double-sided sticky tape, which I'm really running out of, because I did use quite a lot on my Flip Flap book. So a little bit of double-sided. So how's your weekends been, everybody? I hope you've all had a nice little gentle weekend. Mine's been really relaxing. From all the madness of last weekend, which was our craft retreat with Jill and Sarah John, so I had a bit of a day off from my live on Friday afternoon, and yesterday and Saturday it was just, I'd finished off my workshop book, and it was just a really lovely relaxing weekend, and then going to meet up with family as well. And I drove into the centre of Manchester, which I haven't done for years. Blimey, everything has so changed, but I still sort of knew the way. I managed to get parked right near Kendall's, near the Arndale Centre in St Anne's Square, but gosh, it's changed so much. So the idea is it sort of folds up like that. That's the idea of it. So there's the opportunity to get 2 lots of journal pages in, but don't fold it until you've actually got your outer cover on this. Hello Jason, how are you? Oh, that's nice, Caroline. It is nice just to have a bit of a relaxing time, isn't it? Okay, so now what I need is a long enough piece of paper to cover all of this, because it is quite a long journal, but when it's all folded together it isn't that long. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to trim a little bit of the excess off at the side, because I wasn't exact with my cutting with my craft knife. So I just need to trim a little bit extra off each of those sides, and it'll sit a little bit more flush. See, I couldn't do that because I don't really drink anyway, Caroline, but I'd be fit for nothing if I started drinking and crafting. Blimey. There we go. So I've just trimmed where my pencil line was because I hadn't quite done it. So it just means it sits flusher when you fold it all together. That's the idea of that anyway. Okay, let's just straighten that up because I'm not very neat. There, that's better. Okay. So I just need some paper to cover this, and I've got some brown paper. Again, from some packaging that may or may not have come from Amazon. So they always make really good outer covers, these packaging that you might get. So do try and save as much as you can if you can. Normally I fold them up and I don't have it in like a big scrunched up mess. So all I'm going to do is just add a little bit of wet glue. So my templates that I'm using tonight are set 6, and this is the little lap book cover that I'm using. Oh, Caroline, you can do you can help yourself. You bring what you need to bring. I always say I sometimes need a bottle of gin to get through the retreats, but unfortunately I don't drink. Yeah, Helen did show me their little drinks cabinet that they've got on board their camper van. It was very lovely. Oh, Gillian, that sounds good fun. Were you the organising adult again for it, or did somebody else do it this time? Gillian's very good at organising big events, so if you ever need somebody to organise a party for you, Gillian's your woman. Okay, so that's nice and big. Covered that up. I'm just going to mitre the corners, which basically means I'm just going to cut a little corner off it, off each of the 4 corners, but I'm going to leave a little gap between the corner there and the paper. So I always sort of say probably about 1/8 of an inch, something like that, just at the corners. You can use a ruler, you can use one of those tools, but basically you just want a little triangle cutting off the corner of your paper. And because it's going to be folded in, it doesn't matter if it's not very straight. So that's all I'm doing, is just cutting off those corners. Give it a little bit of a fold up. Just so that it helps crease. But because it's only thin paper that I'm using, this brown paper, it's fine. And then I'm going to add some double-sided sticky tape along the edges. And because I'm using some more paper to go over the top on the inside covers of my cover, double-sided tape is fine. It doesn't have to be glue because there's going to be something stuck over the top of it, so it's not going to come loose if you're worried about the permanency of your double-sided tape. That's torn it. Don't worry about that. There we go. So give that a good burnish down with my fingers. I always do the long sides first, it's a lot easier. Fold that over. Same with that side. So a lot of the little books that you do, I do quite like doing them as like a gatefold or a double fold, something like that. They just add a little bit of interest. So fold that down. And then these little bits here in the corners. So what I tend to do, let's just take that tape off there. And just put a little bit more across that little tear that I've created for myself. So just with my thumbnail or whatever's there of it, I'm just pushing that little corner in. So basically it sort of folds part of that little diagonal line. It folds that in towards the middle, and the same with that side. So just gently pushing it in, it just gently creases that card over, and what that does, it creates a nice sharp corner for yourself when you do eventually fold that paper over. So it just makes a nice neat edge on your corners. So the same with that one, just gently push it in, gently push it in, gently, Glynis, because you don't want to rip your paper, and then that can just be folded. So it just makes it nice and sharp on the outside. So that's my outer cover. I'll just fold those in on themselves, and it's quite flexible, this paper. I've not sort of stuck it on too tightly, I've not smothered it in glue. So that's the basic shape of my journal. So it just means I can add a little bit of picture on here, and when I open it up, I'm actually going to stitch my centre pages, my pages here and here, so that I'll have some pages to the left and some pages to the right, like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just leave that to one side now, and then I'm going to paint my little resin pieces, and then we'll finish the journal off. And I haven't got very many resin pieces, so it's not going to take forever, and I have already primed them with some That's Crafty white gesso. So whatever resin that you're doing, it depends on what sort of type of resin. It'll either come out matte or come out glossy, depends on what the mould is made of, basically. So some of them that you get, it's quite a matte finish, and that can sometimes take your acrylic paint quite well. But I would always recommend that you will also put a layer of gesso on first with any of your resin pieces, so that you know it will carry your acrylic paint. So let me get my That's Crafty multi-surface paints out. These are always my go-to ones because they're handy. They're in a box nearby. So I'll need green for my froggy, a little bit of brown to mix with my frog. I've got some blue brown, which is one of my favourite colours. I need a nice orange and a little bit of gold, which is going to help with the lanterns. And then I also want a little bit of black. I don't always like using black because it means I have to change the water colour. No, I'm rubbish, aren't I? So a little bit of black. And then I need a little jacket colour for my little frog. Now, he's naked apart from a jacket and his dicky bow and his hat. Not judging, that's okay. But he's even got a little belly button. I don't know if that's a flaw in the resin that I poured, or that he's actually got a belly button, which I think is rather adorable. So I'm going to go for my midnight blue for that jacket. That's a rather smart jacket colour, I think, for Mr. Frog. Try and find some decent paintbrushes. I need to give them a right good clean. I've not been following my own advice, and I've not cleaned them very well. But I've got a few different sizes there. Hopefully we'll be okay. So I'm going to start on that door, which of course is going to be brown. So these are multi-surface paints. They can go on practically anything. And I'm going to sort of streak it, so I'm dragging the paint back off where I've done, and it looks like wood grain. So if you can see what I'm doing, I'm painting, but then going back over and over, and it lifts off some of the paint. I haven't got an awful lot on my brush, but just by dragging it up and down, you can create some lovely wood effect. like that. Do little swirls. But it does help when you're trying to create that sort of wood grained effect. You're effectively just dragging that paint back off the surface. But I'm leaving it quite dark where the little portions of the planks are, that are the joins in between each of the sections. But the rest of it I can just drag that paint back off. I'm going to use some gold for the fixtures on the door, and then for the outside I'm going to use a grey because it's a stone effect. Don't watch while I contaminate the lid. I'm not going to wet my brush, I'm just going to pick up the grey that's still on the brown, and it'll just give me a darker grey.
It's recording, I just. You what? It's recording.
There we go. So I'm covering it quite a bit of grey paint to start with, and then once I've dried that off I'm going to go back over with a dry brush to pick up some of the details. Purple. Hi Christine. Purple for what? Purple for me little frog's outfit. No, I'm going for me midnight blue. There we go. So that's that. Okay, let's get a little bit of green going. So I'm just doing it all in one go, and then adding a little bit more detail once I've given the first layers of colour a good blast. So again, I'm not washing my brush. So my little froggy, he's got a little fat tummy. He's not even got shoes on, which is fine. And the green that I'm using is evergreen. And because I've got a mixture of grey and brown on that paint brush, it's not as bright as it would normally be straight out of the pot. So it has got like a little bit of a froggy tinge to it. I mean, if you wanted it a nice big bright green, by all means clean your brush, but I like my little froggy toad to be quite grungy looking as well. So I've got enough paint on my brush to start with, just to give him a nice little layer of paint. There we go. Hi Maxine, you alright lovely? So that's my little frog. I'll come down a little bit closer. There we go, just so you can see my little frog there. He's quite sweet. Don't know if you can see that. There we go, my little froggy. But he's quite beautiful. They've got lovely details on these things. He is gorgeous. Okay, I am going to now dip back in the brown. Oh, you naughty girl. Because I want a brown for this branch. So I've got quite a thin brush. I'm trying very hard not to get this brown everywhere, but no doubt I will. And luckily, because these different sections are going to use different colours, I can grab it where the white resin is still plain. There we go. So again with this, I'm going to start wiping off some of that excess paint, just so it gives me different layers. So that's that one. Oh, I really like that. And then I'm going to do my blue for his little jacket. So I will put my brush in the water, and I'm going to get a smaller brush now because it's a little bit more finer detail. And I might just have to take my glasses off to do this because I can see better. Oh, he's so sweet. Yeah, so if you haven't got little paintbrushes, I highly recommend for doing this fine work. So if you do folk art, if you've got like the little thin liner brushes, they're great, like a number 2. Number 3 is not too bad either, but you do need a nice fine brush. So let's just grab his other half and do the other part of his little jacket. Oops, just squeeze through his little lantern. Hold my breath while I just do down the side and underneath. So don't forget as well to do under his feet, because when he's going to be sat on the book, you'll be able to sort of see it from all the different angles. So I've got that in there, and then I am going to do a bit of a different colour for his lapel and his dicky bow. Oh, he's so sweet. He is adorable, and I've missed doing his little hand in the green. Oh, thanks, Christine. So I'll just wipe a little bit of that blue off, come back in with that. Hi, Francis. So let's just get his little green hand. What are they called anyway? Frogs' hands, toads' hands. What are they called? Is there a specific name for them? So now I've got a little bit of a darker green going on. I'm just picking up a little bit of area where his little creases and folds are under his tummy, down near his little toad toes. Feet, the feet aren't they? But he's holding it, so. And I'm just a little bit dark around his little mouth, under his nose, and just around his eyes. But then I will do his little eyes a different colour. Pads, thank you, Christine. I'm going to go with pads. I know, I love painting. I absolutely love it. I love it a lot. Right, so I am going to go for purple. I am, if I can find it. There it is. Yeah, a bit purple, I think. Okay, and because I've only put a thin layer on of this paint, it will not take very long to dry. So let's get his little dicky bow. And I think I need to do under his chin as well. His little dicky bow there. Little dicky bow. And then I'm going to do these little lapels. And then I am going to go over him a little bit with another coat of green. So now that's more or less dried, I'm going to go over a little bit. But because I'm only using thin layers, what it does, it creates like a watercolour effect on your resin pieces. I don't know if we can see, if I try and go a little bit closer with it, but I think it paints more whimsical when you've not got a full coverage on, because I've only used a very thin layer. It adds more character to your characters rather than slapping big massive dollops of acrylic paint on and slathering it on so it's really thick. I prefer having that little watercolour effect basically when I'm doing it, so for some areas I won't need to go back over. So his little jacket has got little bits of the resin sort of coming through a little bit, that white gesso coming through a little bit. So in the shadows it's the darker blue, but because I've not had very much on my brush, it's like a wash that's gone over it rather than a thick coat of paint. So even though it's a multi-surface paint, it depends as well how much paint you have on your brush as well as to how much coverage. So just, have a play. If you've never played with resin and painted it, just have a bit of a play with it as well. Okay, so that's my little frog. So what I want to do now, I'm going to add purple to the butterfly, and then it just links in with his little cravat and things as well. I will put a little bit of gold on this butterfly as well once he's dry. Well, he has exactly, Stephanie, he has been in the water with his little jacket. However, he does live in a house. He doesn't always live in the water. He has his little house that he's going to go into for the evening. So if you see what I mean, because I've not got much paint on, as I'm lifting it off, it's just exposing some of that gesso underneath to give that watercolour effect. Lovely jubbly. Okay, so now what I want to do is the little bit of black. I don't like using black very often because, like I say, it means I have to wash my water, empty my water and change it. Okay, so with this I need the little lantern painting. I'm going to try not to get much on the middle portions where the light comes through, and I know we use this resin mould in the retreat for the canvas that Jill did with this door as well. So I think this branch light is absolutely gorgeous and very versatile for lots of different projects. And then the same for this little one here. But I do like a good lantern. Yeah, so I very, very rarely use black. I'm just trying to be a bit light around the areas where the light's going to come shining through. I might put a little bit of the orange on that side as well. And then just get his little hat done. There we go. I'll try and avoid the little flowers, so I'll pick those up. There we go. So that's his little hat done. Oh, he's so beautiful. And then I don't think I'm going to use that brush. I'm going to try and use, I don't think I've got a really, really skinny one. Let's have a little look. I just want to add a couple of little dots, so I'm going to use my dotting tool if I can find it. If not, I'm going to use my pokey tool, that'll do. So I just want to add a couple of dots onto his eyes, so just a little bit of my pokey tool will do. Take my glasses off so I can see, and then I'm just going to dot some little bits of black just in the centre of his little eyes there. Oops. There we go. So he's got a little bit of black going on. Oh, he's so lovely. He's so lovely. Let's just fill that little bit in. There we go. He's called Frank, isn't he? What, the frog? No, he's not, actually. He's not called Frank. I'm thinking, really, he's going to be called... I don't know, let me just have a think. Because he's not going to be a frog, he's going to be a toad. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. So I want a little bit of orange first to go in these little sections of the Ted the toad. Now I'm not feeling Ted. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. Maybe Tony. Tony Toad. Yeah, well, there's Freddo, isn't there? Freddo the frog. That's chocolate bar, though. We don't talk about that. So a little bit of orange with that one. A little bit of orange with this one. I'll put a little bit of orange on that side. Toes tend to be warty. Oh, I don't want to give him warts. He's been kissing princesses, so he's no warts now. He's lovely. He's very nice. And then I just want to add a little bit of extra brushing on that, and then I'm going to add a little bit of gold on my butterfly as well. Terry Toad, Tony Toad. And I want a colour for his little flowers on his hat, and I want a little bit of brown, dark brown for the twine. So I'm just going to mix a little bit of this black, a little bit of this brown and toads don't turn into princes. Timmy the Toad. Nah, not feeling Timmy. Tobias, no, I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it. I've got to feel it. It'll come to me. So I've just mixed it with the blue because I don't want it too harsh, because if I mix it with black it'll just look black. So if I mix it with the blue, it's got more of a dark green rather than a black for that twine. So it looks like it is, you know, the Tarzan rope that Tarzan swings from. So the twine, you know, the twine from trees. Tarquinius, Timothy, Tim Toad, Timmy Toad. I quite like, I'm going maybe Timmy. Timmy's shouting me. Timmy Toad. Timmy Toad. Timothy Toad. I quite like that. No, no Arthur's. No, Timmy. I think I might go for Timmy Toad. Timmy Toad. Yeah. Right, I just need a colour for his little flowers. Stop distracting me with names. I know I started it, but I'm going to finish it. Okay, right. We've nearly finished the resin painting. Nearly finished. So let's just get a little bit of red on his little. There we go. A little bit of red, and then I'm just going to add a tiny bit of red just at the base of these little fiery lanterns, because then it looks like there's real fire inside them, because obviously they're going to have to use like little fireflies, aren't they, to light them. But I am going to use a little bit of red just to mix with that orange, just so it looks a little bit more natural. Drag that down a little bit. Oh, I do like that. I do like it a lot. Oh, England are playing Latvia. The toad name is done. It's done. It's done. It's done. We've done. We've done. It's all over. It's for football as well. Let's just touch some of the black bits up now that I've missed. A little bit of the heart. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just go in slightly with a dryish brush, just in the little crevice of the little doorway. And then I'm going to dry this stubby brush, which I tend to use for stippling and dry brushing. So I'll dry that off with a piece of tissue rather than me wet wipe, because that won't work. And then what I'm going to do is get my white gesso, if I can take the top off it. Oh, my neck. So I'm just going to dab a little bit off, dry brush it, and then just dry brush over this stonework very gently, very gently. And what it does, it just exposes those raised areas, but in the crevices where I did the grey, it keeps it darker, so it just looks like natural stone rather than just painting a grey shape, just with that little bit of white gesso over the top of that. And I'm going to do the same with this branch. So just slightly dry brush, gently just rubbing over the top with hardly anything left on that paintbrush. But what it does, because the detail in these silicone moulds from Stamperia are so beautifully detailed, it picks up every little nuance of that branch. Every little nook and cranny is exposed. Oh, what a lovely day. What a lovely day making knickers. Oh, that sounds amazing, that. I hope you managed them. I do hope you manage them. And then again, just with this butterfly, I'm just going to dry brush over him as well. So I've still got that purple at the background, I've got that little bit of brown that I created on the top, but it highlights those raised areas. So all I want to do now is just add a little bit of gold for my little features on the door. So let's get a little brush. Hi Sarah, you alright, lovely? And then so he's got a little gold knocker, and then the little hinges in gold. And then I am going to add a little bit of gold just to the very top of my lanterns, just to add a little bit of shine, just to the very top, so it just adds a little bit of bling bling to me thing. There we go. So a little bit of gold, just tap in just at the top, and then a little bit of gold on his little flowers, and then I'm going to dry brush. So let me just take the back end of that off there. But you're alright, don't you worry. Oh yeah, there's nothing worse than having a take when you can't taste or smell it. I'm just going to dry brush over a little bit of gold over his little cravat, little bit of bling bling, and a little bit of gold, a little bit just over my butterfly as well. So that's all done. That's all done. I'm very happy with that. Okay, right, let's clear this up and get this book finished. Okay, let's put them in there. Let's get rid of all those paints out of the way. So I am going to cut into some papers now, and I'm going to try not to cry because I've already used nearly a full pad of paper doing my first book. Philippa Winter McCartney is in the room. Hello, lady. Hello, hello. Right, so I'll just move them out of the way, but they're now finished. So let's just shove them up there. Hopefully the cat is just asleep now. He won't bother me. There's my book that I've done. So I just want to put another piece of paper across the centre of this. And let me just move my brushes out of the way as well. The water out of harm's way. So I should have enough on this piece to do the inside, and all I do with that is just draw around the whole of that shape with my pencil. All the way around. Oops. And then just cut it slightly inside the line, not by much, probably about 1/8 of an inch inside the line all the way round, and then I know that'll be a perfect fit for the inside cover. There we go. All right, darling, I'll see you later, lovely lady. And then let's just cut the edge of this. Right, I'm running out of double-sided, so I'm going to patchwork it together. So I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch, something like that, just around the edge, because that's where my tacky glue is going to go. So I never put my tape right up to the edge of the paper, because I always like to have that permanent glue as the main thing that will hold the edges down. So if I put my double-sided tape right to the edge, I always feel that it might deteriorate after time and lift up. So that's why I always leave a little bit of a gap between the edge and where I put my tape, and then that's where I can put my tacky glue. There we go. Give it a right good press down. And I think a lot of times when people struggle to get the tape backing off, it's because they've not properly give it a really good crease down. So let's get the backing off this. been gone through so much tape recently. I know we used quite a lot of the retreat, didn't we? For the flip-flap pages. Yeah, so I've got a long list of things that I need to do this week, sort of admin jobs like advertising workshops and sorting out dates and things. But tomorrow's main job is sorting out a poster for the new dates for the retreats that are coming up for the rest of the year, because I've already got bookings on already for the June, September and November dates. I know. So I'll get those dates out as soon as possible, so that if you are thinking about coming to one of the retreats this year, at least you've got the dates to hand. Yeah, and I can get the list started. There we go. Come on, come out. Got my little pin handy there. I'm having to use my Cosmic Shimmer because I've run out of that crafty glue. I know, shocking. There we go. Do. So I need a little bit more glue. That's better. There we go. That's it. So I always just run a line of glue just above where I put the tape, and not really right to the end of the paper, because it can have the habit of oozing out where you don't want it to. And then I'm going to add a little bit randomly. Oh, I just got a stitch there and it sort of stabbed me in the side. There we go. And then that will then just fit over the top of that. And I'm not pressing it down too tight. I am keeping it quite loose as well, because it has to fold inwards as well. So I'm not pulling it really taut. Let's just lift this up a little bit. There we go. Hopefully that'll straighten the camera up again. And then gently, just start teasing where those folds are. Gently. It is a glue scribble. Gently. Yeah, the cats are fine, they're good. There we go. So, that's my book. That's my book done. I know that's one's wider than the other, but I'm alright with that. Right, and I am going to actually, oh gosh, I said I am going to actually use some magnets, but let's see if that's my magnet box up there. I'm going to use some magnets to close it. So we're on the last stretch now, I think. There we go. Let's get my magnet box. Yeah, but it's Monday. We've got to be gently on a Monday. Right, let me just... Is that straighter now, that, with the camera? Right, I want quite big ones. Ooh, because it's got to hold quite a lot together. So these ones are... Let me just measure them. These are approximately 10 millimetres wide. So these are quite nice, big, fat, juicy ones in terms of width, but they're not very wide. They're still only about, maybe 2 millimetres, 1 millimetre wide. Thick, not wide. And they're really strong. So do have adult supervision when you are using magnets, Gillian, just saying. And then they need to be positioned towards there. So what I'm going to do is add some double-sided tape around there. That's towards the centre. And stick that on. So I've still got quite a gap towards the end, because I don't want them too far over, or else my paper won't stick down. Yes, put them on your scissors. We don't just leave them on the table, do we, Ginny? No comment. Well, right. They're so hard to get apart. They're really strong. They're really, really strong. So just be careful. You can also, once you've put your backing paper on, you could also use sort of the hook and loop Velcro fastener if you didn't want to use magnets. Oh gosh, right there. That's a part. Okay. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of glue on the top of this one, and then add that. I'm adding glue so it's easier to pull it off, and then adding glue on the top. That's my method in my madness. It's easier just to slide that magnet off then. So now I'll flip it over and line it up where it needs to go. So now I've got a little blob of glue. I can, but they're really strong, these magnets, Glynis, so that's why I've put a bit of glue just to lubricate that slippage, if you know what I mean. And then hopefully pushing that together won't separate them. So let me do it, because they're very, very strong. There we go. So let me shove that on there. Okay, and then if I put a little piece of paper in between, I know I've got the right place to put them on that tape. Okay. Right, you stay there. Okay, so another piece of tape over the top of both of them, because they're little strong things. And now I'm going to get my paper out, and I'm really sad about it, because I don't want to use it, but I will. Right, so that is literally what I've got left of the maxi pad. I've got about one full sheet and one cut apart sheet, and then I've also got the double-sided. So what I'm going to do, I know I don't want to cut it, but I will do, because I've got little frogs on the front. Look at that. He's just adorable, isn't he? Okay, so what I want to do is just now cut two sheets, not one sheet, two sheets, one for there and one for there. Then at least I've got my magnets glued down and I can breathe a sigh of relief. So I'm going to use this side to measure. I'm going to use that bit at the top, because I don't want to spoil my little froggy or my toad. So let's just draw around that template, push that up against it. Oh no, I'm going to use that side actually, with the little bit of that little house. So these are the single-sided Stamperia papers, Hidden Grove, available from That's Crafty, which is where I get the majority of my things. And because I want it, I don't want much of a border, so I'm just going to cut slightly inside the little lines, just ever so slightly. Then I know they'll fit. I know I've had to order some more. So that is, and then a little bit from the other two sides, top and that side. So I'm just using the width of my scissor blade as a guide as to the little smither that I'm cutting off. You could also use a paper trimmer for the same thing. So that will about do it, I think. That will about do. That will about do, donkey. Just maybe a smithereen more. I don't know why I've not used my paper trimmer. I'll do that for the other one because I now know where it is. I couldn't quite see it. Right, so that's going to go on the left. So let's just take the backing off this. Pop that upside down. Let's not put it on upside down, shall we not? Let's just pop that on there. So it's slightly narrower than the actual cover bit, but I do want it quite near to the edge because I want that magnet enclosed in that. See, it's still very strongly closed, very strongly closed. And then the same with this one, so we'll just take a smithereen more off this as I first cut it. But I do love these papers so much. And then I've still got my little frog at the bottom that can be used for something else. So that will then sit in there. And I will ink round it as well later on. Don't you worry about that. Well, honestly, I've never used that many papers for ages because I haven't really finished a proper album like that for such a long time because I tend just to make journals now rather than albums. It was such a pleasure to make it. It is such a chunker, that one from Saturday. It's got a really heavy weight to it as well. Because even though there's only 4 actual pages, there's not, because it's full of lots of flips and pockets and tuck spots as well. So that can then go on there. So when I'll finish it off properly when I've done the live, and I'll just ink around the edges with my VersaFine Claire Fallen Leaves, which is a really lovely colour. Thank you, Helen. I know, well, you spoilt it for me by showing me those papers, because I wasn't actually going to use those papers. So I'm okay that that's not quite the same width, so I'm just going to squeeze it so that it more or less is the same width. Because I've already used cardboard for the cover, I can actually get away with that. Okay, so that's going to be the front. So let's get some. I'm going to cut this paper. I know, I'm sad about it, but I am going to do it. Deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. So this is the double-sided, which I'm only going to use a very small portion of, using that as my guide to where I want. There's 26 pages altogether, yeah, but I've added extra pockets with 2 little notebooks in mine, Sue. It's massive. Oh, Glynis, stop teasing, madam. Okay, so... I know, I don't know. Look, see, that's that one. Okay, I need it. I might actually do it to match the one that I've just done, which was this front cover. And it also doesn't impede on this little guy here on that side. So I think maybe that's what I might do. But I want a nighttime one as well, don't I, really? I might have to go with a nighttime one. Because he's got a lantern ante, so that's solved that problem. I'm not too worried about that Mr. Frog there, because I think I want the moon up there. Okay, and let's just get my little thingies just to position them. So I did try and match them so that it all worked just on that little front cover. So I've still got the little moon. Let's just see what it's like that way. I maybe think I'm going to do... Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that one. Okay, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to bring it down slightly. Okay, right, let's just do that. Let's just do that. It's such a gorgeous collection. Okay, so I've drawn around that. I don't think I'm impeding on that froggy toad. I'm just going to cut slightly in from that. And then let's see what this looks like. Oh, I've cut it now, that's it, done it. Cut it, that's it, done it, too late. Make sure that's the front. So that will fit on there. Okay, so let's get that inked up and stuck down. And then I'm going to stick my little resin pieces on because it's coming up to 8:15 and I haven't had my tea yet. And all I'm going to do to finish it, I'll show you what I'll do. I'm going to cut some of my coffee stain papers and then I'm going to stitch them into these sides here. So I'm just going to do one signature on that side and one signature on that side. So all I'm going to do is poke 3 holes there, there and there on either side and just... Did you hold your breath, Philippa, lovely? Was you scared I'd cut too much? And then that'll just sit there. So just one signature in the centre of each one will be fine. And let's push that out a little bit. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, well, I get mine from That's Crafty because I like supporting her, and I'm on Laura's DT. It's very exciting. There we go. So I've inked that. I'm also going to ink around this little brown paper as well. There's just something so comforting about a brown paper cover, don't you think? There we go. Well, let's just see now. Let's just see. Maybe. Let's just see. Do I want that with the back? I might have that so it's got that bit on the back. So after all that inking, I've done it the wrong way around anyway, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll just add some more. Along the side of this. That's it. Okay, so nice little line of glue. Shove that on. And then I'm actually going to use, now there is still some available at a really, not this massive one, but the smaller pot from That's Crafty of this 13 Arts acrylic gel medium. I know I've got Pentart gel medium as well, which I don't know where it is at the minute because I've not really unpacked it properly from the retreat, so don't shout at me, but I have got one of these. So if you go on to That's Crafty, these are brilliant as well, really nice, gloopy, thick gel mediums. So these are the 13 Arts. If you put in 13 Arts gel on Laura's website, that's Crafty, they're about less than £4 for the pot. So grab them, because they won't last long once you lot get started. So I'm going to add, I don't even know where my palette knife is, so I'm just using, I didn't just shove in Stamperia papers. No, I didn't. I'm just going to use a bone foldery thing that was a cheap one with one of my things. So I'm using a bit of that. I'm going to dibby dabby up and down to create some texture on it so that it will grab, and then drop that just down there, and it just sits so nicely. It grabs really quickly, this one as well. And then I've still got room for my little lantern just above. So again, a little bit of dibby dabby in. But I did use, for that cover, I used some tissue paper, the cover for the book that I did at the weekend. And then I had in my box of tricks from years ago some moss paint from Pentart. It's like a moss effect. Oh gosh, that was lovely. And my little balls, my little stones and that. So I added that to the texture of that front cover. So that again, dibby dabby, and then carefully just drop that into place. Just move that over slightly, move that over so it's got a bit of a bend. Any excess you can take off with your fingernail or a paintbrush. And if it dries glossy, because some of the ones I've got have like a glossy finish, I've just painted over it with a little bit of matte varnish, just to take that shine off, because some of them are a matte finish and some are a gloss finish, and I know the ones that I've got from Pentart are a gloss finish. Right, just shimmy that across, and then I've got my little butterfly. I don't even know what I'm going to use the butterfly. Maybe. I know I'm going to use Mr. Frog, because he's going to be stood like that on the door. So look at how gloopy that is. It's lovely. Beautiful. So, yeah. So I highly recommend 13 Arts Gel Medium. But you won't get much from most places now, but I know Laura had a little bit left on her site. And Pentart Gel Medium as well is a really lovely gel medium to use when you're sticking resin down. Right, I'm going to think about the butterfly. I'll think hard, but I will think about him. Okay, so what I need to do, because I've got raised areas on that door, I'm just going to use a little piece of scrap mount board, grey board that I had at the side, just to add an extra couple of layers underneath my little toad. It did flutter by, so just make sure it's not too thick. Nope. So what I just need to do is just add a shim to raise it up, so that the frog, toad, Mr. Timmy, did we say? Oh, is it gone now? Because somebody must have bought it then, because it was on before I started using it, because I checked. So somebody must have just gone on and bought it. There we go. I think that might be too much. Let's try one first and just make sure it grabs. Okay, right, so I just need to shove it up a bit. All these technical terms, because I don't want his little grey board to come through his legs, do I? There we go. So shove you there. Shove you there. That's it. So just one layer of grey board was enough to stick my little fella on. And then I've got this little butterfly. That can go in the bin. Oh, that's going to get everywhere. But there should still be some Pentart Gel Medium if you need that. So I've got that little butterfly. I don't know whether I need it. I don't think I'm going to use him. I was going to put him on the top of the branch, but that moon's there now. Let me lift that up so you can actually see what I'm doing. I keep forgetting that my camera's a different angle now. Do I need to bring it that way? Oh, he's so gorgeous. He is so gorgeous. And then what I've got, oops, is from blooming one of these recycle places. I got them when I was in Leeds with Glynis. Let me just find it in this little bag. Oh gosh. Sorry for the lights swooshing around. I'm trying to rummage in this bag. I've got some little plastic leafy things, so I am going to use some of them just around the bottom. Well, it could have been a moth, couldn't it, I suppose. Right, that light's gone there now. I know we do need to go again, definitely. So they're just like little plasticky jobbers that were about 20p, something like that. So they look quite real. So all I'm going to do is just shove a few with a little bit of gel medium, just sporadically at the back of the door and that. So I'm just going to shove it in the gel medium just to get a little bit on the base of it. And then just shove a little bit down in between, just so it's got a little bit of foliage going on. I know. That was beautiful, that cafe, wasn't it? So it's in Sunnybank, is it? Sunnybank near Farley Granger in Leeds. Sort of past Pudsey way. I am shoving tonight, sorry. I'm carefully positioning it, Christine, in a nice, delicate manner, because that's what it deserves. It deserves being placed, perfect placement. A little bit, maybe a little bit behind there. Oh, a bit behind there. I'll just try and do a little bit behind there. I don't even think I want that piece, bear with. Oh gosh, £10 to buy stuff. Oh, just to get in. Gosh. Well, it's free to enter the one at Leeds, and it's a very nice place. A lot of upholstery fabric. There we go. That's a bit better. It's got a bit more foliage on that one. So carefully, just sweeping a little bit of gel medium onto my little thing, and then just sticking it down. And then it will dry clear, but I will add a little bit of green paint to the bottom of that as well. Oh, just knock it off, why don't you? Right, get on there. Right, I'm going to add a little bit more paste over the top, a little bit. All right, Helen, speak to you soon, darling. Thank you for watching. I'm not too far off finishing now, actually. So I'm just adding a little bit of gel medium just at the bottom of that. Oh, I quite like that. I do quite like that. Get that off. Let's just wipe that. Wipe that off, get that off there, wipe that, and I can still use it as a bone folder, even though there's a little bit of gel medium on that, and then a tiny bit of green paint. So let's get this paint out again. Let's get me green out. And then let's let's just give it a little dibby dab. I'm going to use my stubby brush because I don't want to spoil a decent brush. I'm just going to dibby dab over that gel medium a tiny bit. Let's just wipe the excess off and just push that in a little bit, just so it adds a little bit more realism with that plastic bit of foliage. A little bit around the bottom of my tree, and I think that'll do it. So I know that's going to be stuck in. That will dry, that's fine. And then I think we're done. Oh, so I've shown you the papers. What I'll probably do is a little reel of how I've actually stitched the pages in. But like I say, the pages are going to be stitched to these two little sections here. So it'll be a little folded book of paper in the middle. And when I've done it, I will add an extra couple of pages on the inside as well. There, and I might even put a couple of little pockets with some tags in the middle. But there we have our little, oh gosh, I've knocked that now. Let that dry, everybody. Let it dry. So it has a little bit of a sparkle because of the little lights. I might put a little bit of gold on there. But there we have our little sort of lap book, gatefoldy, double overfold book, journal. I'll make sure my glue's stuck down. But there we go, that's our little book, and that will then match this one. So it's like a daytime and a night time in our little fairy grove. Night and day, it's like night and day, isn't it? So I just need to get Steve and he'll be able to get us signed off. But there we go, so thank you so much for joining. I should be back on next Monday, hopefully. I'll be back on my journal club on Friday, and in the meantime, when I've posted this picture, I will put all the links to all the workshops that I've had and done and coming up, so you can still book yourself on ones that have already happened, because the videos are still available now privately on YouTube. But I'll just give Steve a quick shout. Steve, thank you. Steve's coming now. But there we go, I rather do like that. Thank you, me, for making that. That's another lovely make today. There we go. I love it. I love it. Little frogger. Toady frog. There we go. So what I'll do as well, once everything's dry, I'll just go over it with a matte varnish. Maybe, apart from the gold bits, because I don't want those dulling down. But I might just go over the little froggy and things. But there we go. That's it. Thank you very much. See you next time. Goodbye. 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 Bye-bye.